Hello. Um, Thank you all for showing up to my talk today about holiday stress. I hope that you get something out of it. We're going to start off here today with some slides that I prepared. And we're going to talk a little bit about, well, first of all, I should introduce myself, I suppose, is the right way to go about doing this. Today, our talk is going to be about stress and particularly holiday stress. So I've entitled it Serenity Under Stress because I think, it's not about whether or not you have stress. It's really about how you manage it. So I really want, if I can give you just a roadmap to follow to help you manage the stress that you're undergoing during this holiday season, then that's the best that we can ask for. Um, so just a little bit about me. My name is Dr. Beth Walker Graham, and I am an acupuncturist and a Chinese medical herbalist practicing. The name of my practice is called Elemental Wellness, and that exists in both California and here where I live in the village of Tainault in rural Scotland. And I specialize in family medicine, which basically just means moms, babies, aging, mental health, and my special interests really are mental health and autoimmune diseases. I spent 13 years of my life, at least at this point now, studying diet and nutrition and pediatric health, and then I spent 6 years in medical school, Chinese medical school, getting my doctoral degree in acupuncture and Chinese medicine. So, again, a lot of my focus while I was in school was on things like autoimmune conditions and mental health. So that's my background. Like, why should I listen to you? You don't have to, but you can. And I spent a lot of time learning about this stuff. So I want to start today off to talk a little bit about what stress is. And I hope I'm not going to bore anybody with the physiology, but I find the physiology to be really interesting, actually, because I think a lot of times we blame ourselves for feeling stress, and it's a physiological reaction. So there's something about giving yourself that extra bit of information that kind of releases you from obligation to fight that stress a little bit. The Cleveland Clinic defines stress as the body's reaction to any change that requires an adjustment or response. So, the body reacts to these changes with physical, mental, and emotional responses. And they go on to say that stress is a normal part of life, and you can experience stress from your environment, your body, and your thoughts, right? So, we live in a world today where there's a lot of pollution, right? Temperature changes. When the shift of the seasons happens, you go from, a very warm day to a very cold day, or vice versa. The rest of your environment, your sensory input, right? Sights, sounds, smells, all of this can trigger a stress response in your body. Exercise is one of those interesting things that we don't think about a lot. Not that it's not good for you, it's just that it can induce a stress response in your body. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's not what we want. And then also stress can come from emotions or thoughts, whether they're true or not. And then memories as well can sometimes cause us stress. And I do want to emphasize that stress is not always a negative thing. So, again, it's a physiological response, and some of the things that physiological response produce are actually beneficial, right? It increases productivity. It improves coping ability during life expansion, the birth of a child, a promotion, or, when you're when you're trying to go through, a mortgage process, right? You can cope better, you can focus better. And so these are things that help us succeed in these times in our life where we need that kind of response. And it improves physical performance during competition. So, people who are athletes or who rely on physical performance for their livelihood and their joy, stress can improve your performance in those ways. So that's important to note. And then also it's important to remember that it keeps us safe. Like, there is a reason why it exists, and mostly it exists as a mechanism for safety. So this talk is going to be about stress, and a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about today is just blanket. This is how you handle stress, all kinds of stress, but specifically because of the time of year, I want to talk a little bit about holiday stress as well, because I think, when we come into this time of year, there's a lot of specific stressors that come with the holiday season. Things like additional scheduling commitments, right? Budgeting concerns, expectations from both yourself and from the other people around you. We all have a lot of emotions wrapped up in this time of year, and we've got memories and thoughts and feelings about it. And sometimes that causes us to expect a certain outcome. We put a lot of a weight on a happy holiday season. And then relationships, they're not always easy. Sometimes they're challenging. And at this time, when you find yourself, many of us, face to face with relatives, often for the one time a year, when we are face to face with them, that can cause tension and thereby stress. And then also lifestyle changes, because we all take holidays from work, or we're having to go to a bunch of other parties. Like, these affect our ability to maintain the healthy lifestyle practices that we sort of balance our health on. And so a shift in a lifestyle change can also increase your stress. And so, I kind of break this all down into, time, money, expectation versus intention, love, and self-care. And it kind of hits you in all those good spots. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later, how we're going to balance that. But before that, I want to get into the physical manifestations of stress, because, as I said before, it's a physiological response. So there are lots of things that cause it, as we talked about. Stimulus, we'll have emotional stimulus or physical stimulus, either from your environment or from memories, things like that. So you have a stimulus that engages your autonomic nervous system, right? And the autonomic nervous system is responsible for that fight, flight, or freeze, or the rest and digest. So there's two pieces of the autonomic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is what we call the fight, flight, or freeze response, right? And so that's your sympathetic nervous system. And so when you're under a stimulus that would induce stress, your autonomic nervous system engages your sympathetic nervous system, right? Goes into your adrenal medulla and creates stress hormones. There's a hormonal response to this, right? Where your adrenal medulla produce cortisol, adrenaline, and noradrenaline. And then the result of this is what we call fight, flight, or freeze. So I just want you to take a minute and go, oh, okay. So when something happens, right, that happens, my nervous system picks up on that. It engages the sympathetic nervous system and the hypothalamus that says, oh, by the way, go make these hormones. And then your body makes the hormones. And that's what causes the symptoms that we know of, that we call stress, which are that fight, flight, or freeze response. And it's important to remember that whether your stimulus is emotional or physical, the response to that stimulus is always physical. So whether it starts off as emotional, it always ends in that physical place where your body is producing these results. So I'm just going to talk a minute about that fight, flight, or freeze response for those of you who don't know, because it does some really interesting things. So these chemicals that your body is making, adrenaline, noradrenaline, cortisol, those have physiological effects, right? They dilate your pupils. They increase your blood glucose, your heart rate, and your blood pressure. They increase blood flow to the muscles, and they decrease your digestive function. And the end result of this for you means that, in terms of a safety mechanism, dilating your pupils, you can see what's going on around you better. You can see farther, right? Increasing your blood glucose. You have energy to fight if you need to. Your heart rate and your blood pressure, that gets blood everywhere into your body, and the increased blood flow to your muscles, even though it can be good to help you run away in case there's a tiger there, it can also increase symptoms of tension and pain. So if you suffer from chronic pain, being under stress can sometimes exacerbate that. And then the other thing that it does is it decreases your digestive function. So it basically shunts your resources out to your limbs so you can fight or flee, right? But that means that there's not enough blood flow or attention being given to your digestive system. So you'll find things like sluggish bowels or lower appetite. Those are other side effects of this response. The other thing that I want you to understand is that you can sometimes get into a feedback loop, right? Where perceived physical manifestations of stress can trigger actual manifestations of stress, and you can perpetuate that chemical cascade. Because the other thing that happens is the noradrenaline that your adrenal cortex is pumping out increases your alertness, increases your memory function, and increases your focus and attention. Again, as we said before earlier, those can be really positive things, but also they mean that you're hypersensitive to perceived stressors in your environment, which can sometimes get you back into that feedback loop, right? So alertness can sometimes equal sensitivity, and memory function can often be a problem when you're talking about powerful holiday memories that have strong associations. And that focus and attention sometimes translates into perfectionism. So these are pieces of that feedback loop that can sometimes plague us during the holidays. This is our comic relief. We have a couple of these in here, right? Who among us hasn't, like, we've taken our stress relieving things and just shoved them in a cabinet and so nervous that someone's going to judge you for where you hide your dirty laundry, right? Or what's making you so stressed? Right? So anyway, comic relief for the afternoon, one of two anyway. So when we talk about stress, I've just talked a little bit about the physical response, but there's also emotional manifestations. So for us, when we're looking at Chinese medicine, we talk about stress as being what we would call liver qi stagnation. And part of that is a lot because of the physical manifestations. But this manifests for us as things like irritability, right? And that happens biologically because your blood sugar is on a roller coaster, right? Your liver is working hard to keep your blood glucose level high so that you have access to energy in a very quick and easy way, right? It's you doing a process called gluconeogenesis, where it takes its fat stores and it turns them into ready sugar. But also this means that you're using your blood sugar rapidly. So you kind of it goes up and down and up and down, and your liver is not as good at regulating your blood sugar as, say, a regular diet. The other thing that we call liver qi stagnation in Chinese medicine is symptoms of depression and anxiety. And a lot of this has to do with like neurotransmitter imbalances. So, we know that depression and anxiety are caused by, this serotonin imbalances, and also that that part of that fight, flight, or freeze feedback loop can be because anxiety will sometimes trigger a fight, flight, or freeze. And so then you get into that feedback loop, right? Depression is a mixture of the serotonin and the noradrenaline and the dopamine, and then anxiety can sometimes trigger that. And then the other thing that happens, I put it as emotional because I think it mostly affects us emotionally, but it really is a physical thing, and that is that the fight, flight, or freeze reduces the blood flow to your reproductive organs and can also cause low libido, which can sometimes increase emotional stress in our relationships. Heartfelt Changes commented, "Now I know why liverish means being disagreeable or peevish." Absolutely. And the other thing that I always tell people is that the liver is a princess, right? One of the best ways to calm your liver down is to give it sugar. Why? Well, because when it's cranky, it's working really, really hard at keeping your blood sugar regulated. So all it wants is for you to feed it sweet things. So we'll get into that a little bit later as well. So acupuncture and stress, because I'm an acupuncturist. I'm going to talk about acupuncture. That's one of the reasons I'm here today. But the thing that acupuncture is really, really good at is that other side of the system, that parasympathetic nervous system, as opposed to the sympathetic that's causing all of this stress. So you might recognize this diagram we just saw a few minutes ago, but this time we're going to talk about that parasympathetic nervous system. So acupuncture works by being part of that stimulus, right? It's a physical stimulus, right, that triggers your autonomic nervous system to generate what's called beta endorphins that initiate that parasympathetic nervous system to generate acetylcholine and put you into the parasympathetic response, which we like to call rest and digest. And so that is how that cascade works. And really, acupuncture isn't the only thing that does this to you, but this is one of the ways that acupuncture works when we talk about how it helps you relieve your stress. So again, when we're looking at that parasympathetic response, how we get to rest and digest is the acetylcholine and the beta endorphins work together to contract your pupils, to reduce your heart rate, to increase your glandular secretions, the feel-good hormones, and to increase smooth muscle contractility, which makes it easier for you to breathe and for your heart to beat. And it increases the vagal nerve impulses that produce then that increase your sexual function and also decrease those sympathetic neurotransmitters, the noradrenaline, and things like that. So this is the chemical cascade and the physiological aspects of what rest and digest actually means in your body. And the acupuncture does this, right? It regulates the autonomic nervous system through the hypothalamus, as we saw before, but it does that via the skin. So when you're piercing the skin with acupuncture, this starts that cascade. And it also activates the neurons to release acetylcholine, which, as you remember, is an important piece of this chemical cascade. And it enhances vagal activity. It increases beta endorphins. And all of this put together helps to reduce the stress response. It also helps your body clear out cortisol. So it reduces your cortisol levels and it improves your immune function. And then also helps to break that feedback loop cycle of chronic stress. And they did a study actually of immune functions in anxious women where they were looking at, the cells and the chemicals and the natural killer cell activity in the immune system. And they said that were improved by acupuncture and that they augmented parameters, or they augmented immune parameters. So that after having acupuncture, even if you're immune compromised, the acupuncture does actually improve your immune function, which, as we all know, when we start getting into a stressful state and when we're in the holidays, at cold and flu season, everybody loves that. So the other thing that I do, not just acupuncture, I'm also an herbalist, and I do love how Chinese medicine likes to support the liver during this time. So I oftentimes use liver therapies to help manage blood sugar levels, to relax muscle tension. We've got a couple of really great herbs that do that, to support digestive function. Because again, when you're in a state of stress, your digestive function is reduced and your digestive system could use a bit of support during that time. And then also to promote the healthy function of your nervous system. So holiday stress. I hinted at it earlier, but as I said before, holiday stress, it's its own special kind of stress. And so I'm just going to kind of come back here to this slide where we talk about all the different things that the holidays bring to you. And I just, additional scheduling commitments, they tax your time, right? Your budgeting concerns tax your money. Expectations from yourself or other people, right? We're going to talk a little bit about expectation versus intention as a way to work on that. Relationships, so much of how we feel about ourselves and our world is about love. And that comes a lot from our relationships. And then, your lifestyle changes, like your lifestyle is your self-care. So when that's compromised, not only are you worried about the love you're getting from your relationships, but also from yourself. And that's important. So I like to think of this time, expectation, money triangle, right? Is that, we like to balance it, right? Too much to do, not enough money, nothing turns out the way I want, right? And so for me, I like to say, well, let's identify where the constraint is coming from, right? And if it's your choice or something you have no control over, right? And then also to set clear boundaries. Set clear priorities based on your own values. So identify, is this coming from the outside? Can I control it? Can I not control it? Right. And then if it's something you control, those things that are within your control, you can set your priorities, priorities that resonate with you. And then I find that when we talk about intention versus expectation, you get better results with intention. And the difference here is that it's really about what I bring to the situation rather than what I can get out of it. And so that's a shift in mindset that has to come. And it's so much harder than it sounds. But I find that this works a lot to help break that cycle where you have an expectation and then you don't get what you want and then you feel depressed about that. So instead, if you go, hey, I think I'm going to bring this to the situation, oftentimes that keeps you from having an expectation about the outcome, which can oftentimes improve the outcome, ironically enough. And then balancing that triangle: time, expectation, money. We used to have this joke in the theater. It's like, you can have it good, you can have it fast, or you can have it cheap. Pick one. Right? Or pick two even, but like, you're never going to get all three. And so is it something where, based on your priorities and, can you balance that triangle, right? Can you trade time for money? Are your expectations a little high, right? Do you need the Pinterest life, or, is your life good enough for everyday consumption? So balancing that triangle, pick two and let the other one go, because very likely you're not going to get all three. And that's just, again, managing expectations. And then also setting clear boundaries for yourself so that you don't overextend yourself, particularly for something that's not high on your priorities list. So I know that these are all sort of things that we swim around in our soup, that we think about and then we forget about when we get under the gun. So this is just that gentle reminder of like how we can manage those pieces of stress that are in our life that get really hectic around the holiday season. So in talking specifically about our relationships, right? Like the top three: time, money, expectations. Let's dig into relationships, because that's the easy one, right? No. So preparation is key. And I think, in terms of that, it's about centering. Again, you're dealing with your priorities, finding that centering place in yourself where you're like, all right, I'm going to need to set boundaries. And so how do I get clear with myself about what those boundaries are? And then when you get to that place where you're ready to do that, to set boundaries, draw firm lines, and remember your triangle and your priorities. And then remember, when we talk about intention and expectation, right? Let's, love versus obligation, right? Clearly define your intentions. Like, are you doing something because you feel you need to do it, or are you doing something because you're bringing love to the situation? And then, take the good. It's family. Sometimes you have to pick your battles. So if you're able to take the good and let the bad go, that's never bad advice. And then I also know that sometimes at this time of year, loneliness can be an issue. And I think if loneliness is hard, that sometimes balancing that triangle by, giving the gift of your time, instead of, by either taking care of yourself or by helping others, can sometimes combat those feelings. And then also to remembering, when you're setting your boundaries, when you're looking at these relationships, like, balance that introvert extrovert energy. Like, you don't just, if you're an introvert, you don't have to go to all the functions. It's just not necessary. And avoid the crowds if you have to, because that's also just survival techniques. But the lifestyle changes, that's something that I definitely can help with in what I do. This is the meat of what I spend my days teaching my patients about liver-chi stagnation, or health in general. But nutrition, top of the list here, as I said. In holiday time, what do we have? We have holiday treats, right? And nobody says, oh, you shouldn't have holiday treats. You should have holiday treats. Your liver is a princess. It would like the sugar. But how much is too much? And so for me, I like to say, if you're experiencing digestive changes like bloating and bowel changes, that's too much. So enjoy your sweets, enjoy your treats in the holidays, but pay attention to your digestive system. And if you start noticing changes, that's when you know that you need to pull back. The other thing that gets shorted a lot during the holidays is your sleep, right? And because insomnia is a risk factor for later development of depression, right? You need to make sure you're giving yourself enough. And I know sometimes the parties, the late nights, we burn the candle at both ends, but regularity is just as important to your sleep quality as the amount of time you spend in bed. So make sure you're paying attention to that you're kind of giving yourself the gift of that relationship with sleep, because you do need to keep it regular. Classic exercise. Yeah, we all know we need to exercise, but really, I kid you not, it's a really important piece of managing stress. They mean what they say. So if you can get out and exercise, even if it's you turn your cocktail party into a dance party, get a little more movement into your life. Get outside. I know it's cold and dark, but even a brisk, 15-minute walk is better than nothing for the day. And then emotional hygiene is another huge one, right? Prioritize me time. At this time of year, everybody's pulling you in a million different directions, but now is the time to spend time with yourself. And on that note, I would just say that acupuncture can be a great way to do me time, but also my friend Emma at Heartfelt Change is doing this amazing lecture series or meditation series called Stress Busters. And I'm going to put a link here into the comments for you. So the Stress Busters is going to be, she'll talk about this more, but if you go check out her website, you can see, but it's a really affordable, really quick and easy way to just tuck a few extra tools into your pocket. They're going to help you manage your stress, but also give you that little bit of me time that you might need during the holiday season. So check it out. Again, I love giving you tools. Like if I could give you a bunch of tools and you could take care of this yourself, that's great. I'm happy to do that. But I'm also always here with my needles. If you need somebody to be like, please just put me in that state of relaxation, come on over. I'm also going to say that Emma's really great at helping you find that for yourself as well. So from experience, I can say that's good. If she's on, she can maybe type in the comments more info about her Stress Busters and you'll get to know more about that. Anyway, so prioritizing me time leads us to, oh no, where did my zebras? Because, we've all tried all of the things to relieve stress, haven't we? But not all of it works. But it's okay. We can still try it. I just love the zebra. Like, it's supposed to relieve stress. Oh my gosh. I know. The crayons. He's a colorful zebra. It relieves stress because he's happy now. Anyway. So the last thing I'm just going to say to you, well, I've got two more things I want to say to you before I let you all go. But the first one is like, if you're having a hard time managing these things on your own, you should absolutely get help. Now is the time, right? Use acupuncture to help break the stress cycle, stop the physical manifestations of the stress response, and provide space to sort of reset and give you a, mental, emotional response. Use herbal formulas if you need to. I mean, now is the time. Herbal allies. I don't always use herbs in my practice, but if there was a time, it would be the holidays. Have a little insurance policy in your back pocket. Grab some herbal support. Help your digestive function so you can keep that healthy and support your body as it's going through the stress response, right? And then also enlist someone to help you stay honest. This is one of those funny things about my practice that some people have figured it out and other people are just like, I don't even know what you're talking about. But a lot of times having a regular appointment with a healthcare practitioner helps you be a little bit more honest with yourself about how you're taking care of yourself. If you have to come into someone's office every week and outline, just what you did or how you felt or how it went, it gives us a bit more objectivity. And it doesn't have to be mean. It doesn't, have to be a healthcare practitioner. Maybe it's just a friend. But to have regular check-in visits with whatever your support system is for you can be really helpful in keeping you on track and reaching your goals. And that's before, during, and after the holidays, because there definitely is a cycle there, right? And I do agree that it's important to kind of set yourself up now. Like, now's the time. You might not have hit stress yet, but winter is coming. And now is the time to get those support systems in place. So maybe it's your friend down the block, whoever it is, activate them, get them in line, and you can do it for each other. And that can be helpful. So the last thing I want to talk about, just because stress is a real thing and emotional health and mental health is a real thing, is that if you find yourself veering to things that maybe are beyond what we would call like a normal stress response, it's really important to call your primary care provider, call your GP, the surgery. I've got a couple of helplines listed on here. In the US, you can call NAMI. In the UK, you can call SAMH. There's links to the email addresses and hotlines that you can call. But I want to help you figure out how to identify that first. So things that are veering beyond stress, right? If it's excessive worrying or fear. And when I say excessive, I mean, is it keeping you from doing things in your life, right? Is your worrying or your fear keeping you from action? Um, and then are you having prolonged or strong feelings of anger or irritability, right? There's help you can get for that. Feeling excessively sad or low. Again, is it keeping you from your life? These feelings of sadness or low mood, right? Are you avoiding friends and social activities? Are you feeling confused? Like, is your thinking just muddled and you're not thinking clearly? Are you having extreme mood changes or swings? Or have you had a significant change in your sleeping habits or feeling tired and low energy all the time when you wake up? Are you having difficulty perceiving reality? I know sometimes people think it's, they go, oh, I'm not delusional or hallucinations, but it happens. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's part of your brain protecting yourself. But if you are having a difficult time with that real, unreal place and are having delusions or hallucinations, you can get help for that. And then also if we go into things like substance abuse, is your substance habit out of control? Are we veering into abuse, or are you still well managed? And if you're having suicidal thoughts, of course, we talk about this in healthcare all the time. Like, have you thought about it? Have you planned it? There's levels to this, but if you've thought about it and you're coming up on the holiday season, please get help. There are phone numbers there, and there are people there who are willing to help you. And then also we have things like an inability to carry out your daily activities or handle daily problems and stress. As I said, all of these things, if it's causing you a problem, like on a daily basis. Or a lot of times this manifests for us in the holidays if you're having an intense fear of weight gain or you have a concern with your appearance. These are some of those early warning signs that things could get serious as the season progresses. So if you're having any of these things, I encourage you to reach out to a healthcare provider and get help for that kind of issue. So these are my resources and where I got all my info from. And I'm just going to hang out here and answer any questions if anybody has any. Emma just said here to me, just found out about Zentangles yesterday. What are Zentangles? What are Zentangles? Oh my gosh. Are we going to talk about this on our Facebook Live this week? I think that could be a subject for Tuesday, right? So if you are watching this on repeat and you're not here to comment, go ahead and put something in the comments. I will get back to you. I will respond to you. You can go ahead and hashtag replay if you want to. And always you can go to my website. I've got a link here in the comments called it's elementalwellness.net is where you can go to make coloring zebras. Okay. Emma says that the Zentangles are the coloring zebras. So anyway, you can go to my website and you can, there's links. You can send me an email. You can sign up for an appointment. I offer free 20-minute consultations. I like to talk about these things. So if you have a question and you're like, I don't know if acupuncture is right for me, but I'm curious, give me a call. We'll chat for 20 minutes. I'll be straight with you. And then also I've just begun offering an ear acupuncture clinic, a community style clinic in Oban. I've partnered with the Argyle Wellbeing Hub. And so on Fridays at lunchtime, we are offering a drop-in clinic where you can come, you can get a little ear acupuncture and sit for 20, 30 minutes on your lunch hour, have a little Zen time, relax, enjoy the atmosphere with other people who are looking to relax and enjoy some acupuncture. It can be a really great way to get you through. They say that within 72 hours of having acupuncture, you'll sort of feel those results, and they can last for up to a month. So, you might not even have to come in every week or more than that. You might just be able to drop in, and those appointments are completely free. So we just really want we just really want you to enjoy acupuncture. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. Can folk try you out anywhere in town? Yes, I busk on the streets. I just run around and poke people with little needles. No, I don't. So you can come see me at the Argyle Wellbeing Hub on Fridays from 12:30 to 2:30. I'll be there. Or you can come to my private clinic here in Tinault. Give me a call before you show up. It's my house. But yeah, this is where I treat patients, and I'm here most days, seeing people and putting needles in them. And then beyond that, I tend to hang out on Facebook on Tuesdays with Emma from Heartfelt Change, because because we like talking about holistic medicine. So I hope this helped you today. I hope it might have brought a little bit more information to you. I just want you to really feel empowered to understand that whatever you're feeling from a stress perspective, that it's your body telling you something. It's not in your head. It's not even something that you have control over most times. But that doesn't mean there aren't tools that you can use to help yourself, or tools that you can use that others wield that can help you as well. So again, if you have any other questions, go ahead and reach out. And I will talk to you all again soon. Thank you so much.